Hello and welcome to this Independent Consulting Manual Roundtable discussion. Our topic today is sales, sales, sales. And I'm your facilitator. And just in a moment, our esteemed panelists, all two of them, will be introducing themselves to you. So our topic is sales, and I personally love sales because I used to hate sales so much. And like having gone from, where you may be now as, a freelancer who knows you need to master sales but loathes it. That's the direction and the angle I'm taking with this discussion. But so with experience, I became a sales master. I don't even think about it as sales anymore. Um, and I should have introduced myself. I'm Kurt Elster. I help Shopify store owners unlock hidden profits in their websites. And again, I'm going to be the facilitator for this ICM panel discussion. And Kai, could you start us off by introducing yourself?
Absolutely. So my name's Kai Davis. I write at wyouraudience.com, and I help freelancers and consultants improve their business development for their own practices. And I also work with coaches and consultants and authors to help them build an audience online through relationship management and outreach marketing.
Cool. Mr. Morgan, could you?
My name is Philip Morgan. I help custom software development shops get more leads without hiring a salesperson.
Very good. Okay, so starting from the beginning, why do sales feel so hard, so scary, or icky?
For me, at least, it's always been, at least on the hard side, it's the fear of rejection. I think that a lot of us from a young age are just primed to fear rejection in any sort of social setting. And so when we switch to being an independent consultant, well, a lot of what we're going to be doing to acquire work is approaching people and saying, this is what I could do to help grow your business. That requires being comfortable with being vulnerable. And in any situation like that, the risk of being rejected makes it scary.
I never, that's kind of amazing. I never thought of it like that. And looking back on it, when I thought of sales, I pictured it as, oh, I'm going to have to walk into businesses I've never been to and try and pitch them on a new website or cold call people and do the same thing. And that terrified me. And you know what? To date, I have never done that.
It's funny you mentioned walking into a business, because my first experience with sales, not being on the receiving end of sales, was I'll try to keep this story short, but in some break in the summer between high school and college, I think, I was looking for a summer job, responded to an ad that was promising something like make $500 a day, and it was a door-to-door sales job. So, I walked into the orientation, and they're kind of explaining things, and I just managed to convince myself that, okay, I should give this a shot. So I show up the next day, and they send me out with a salesperson to shadow him, and it was horrifying. The guy was like walking into stores and like unrolling this black roll of cheap jewelry and trying to sell people on it. And so I kind of got that picture in my head that sales was trying to trick people into buying something they didn't really need or want. So for me, the fear about sales came from not understanding the concept of value to a business, and B, feeling like fundamentally it's basically trying to talk somebody or trick somebody into buying something they don't need.
Yeah.
And when I got over those, it changed completely.
Yeah, the realization I've made is people buy for their own reasons, and this doesn't matter in what context the sales process is happening. You just want to present people with enough information that they could buy for their own reason, and you could do it in a persuasive way, of course. But so once all of us, I think, had this like terrible vision of sales. Now we've moved past it, and we're totally unbothered by it. How can everyone make sales feel painless?
I think it starts from realizing that the sales process is not about forcing somebody to buy from you or winning them over so much as it is about learning what their current situation is. So when I think about Kai from 2 years ago and Kai today and the major difference in how I approach selling, I've switched from pushing out versus pulling in. I've switched from thinking I need to throw enough evidence on the table to convince somebody to work with me to I need to ask enough questions to learn about their situation and then see if working with me is the right choice for them. So just that switch where it's gone from I need to win this to I need to qualify them or I want to learn more about their situation has made it less scary, since I think it switched the power dynamic from being one where I'm placing a lot of it in the hands of the person who I want to buy, to the power dynamic being more controlled by me and my decision to work with them.
One of the things for me that helped sort of take the fangs out of sales was trying to do it not in a live situation, but do it through writing at first. So actually having the experience of writing some sales pages for my own services kind of helped me process how you have that conversation in just a super, not real-time situation, just where I could sit down and say, okay, what's the best headline here, and what really is the value of what I'm selling, and what really is the pain that I'm addressing. It helped me break it down, so I wasn't practicing real time every time, because for me that was it was just hard to try to work that stuff out in real time practice. So you kind of, I think they do this in sports where you just kind of break down something like swinging the bat into little small pieces. Writing a sales page did that for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And when I think about the time I've spent practicing understanding why people buy and they don't, every time I've written a sales page, it's made me that much more authoritative and knowledgeable about how to overcome objection A or objection B when I'm actually selling to somebody face to face. I've already encountered the objection or thought of it while I'm writing the page. It's easier for me to rattle off the justification for it. This is why you should buy, than it would be if I was trying to do it cold or live or almost as a piece of improv every time I encountered it.
I think the common thread here is it's really about relationship building, right? That's the metaphor that I use to make that mindset shift. You don't, just like there are two ways to go about relationship building. You could be the sleazy guy throwing lines at the club, which is what I think how most people are seeing sales, where you don't know the person, you have no relationship with them, and then now you're trying to chat somebody up. And that's a terrifying situation, and it's sleazy, and nobody likes that guy. Versus if you look at it as relationship building, or you can even extend it further to like online inbound marketing. Like what's a dating website beyond online inbound marketing? Like that's what eHarmony is, right? We're going to deliver matches right to you. Well, you could build those same sales funnels, and then that way your prospect can learn quite a bit about you through the sales page that Philip Morgan talked about writing. Once you understand that process, by the time you actually have a live conversation, which is the scary thing with someone, they've already learned enough and you've built a relationship, either one-sided where they know a lot about you, or via email where maybe you've gone back and forth a few times. And by the time you get to the scary part, the live phone call, it really isn't about sales anymore. It's just trying to see if you're a good fit, hammered out, etc.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I heard this way of thinking about sales as sort of just you're facilitating whatever the next step is.
Sounds like a Kai Davis line.
It kind of does. But I know I heard it before I knew Kai.
I think it's from Joanna Wiebe of Copy Hackers, at least how she applies it to sales pages, where the only job of the headline is to move you to the first line of body text. Mm-hmm. The subject line is to get you to open the email. It's a similar thread of each element has one specific job to be done.
I know for sure when I read Blair Enns' book, Win Without Pitching, that was pretty pivotal for me in reframing the idea of because here's what I thought of a sale as was like you just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and somehow this person asked you for a proposal, and so your proposal is, okay, we got to really blow them away with something, creativity, a novel approach to this problem. And so the whole sales process was this like high wire act in terms of all the pressure I was putting on it. What I've realized since is that so much of the sale happens before any proposal is shown to anybody, and it's an incremental process rather than like a one-time. We got to really nail this pitch kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think about how I approach sales now and how I approach sales in the day job I had before I switched to being a full-time consultant. For the day job, I was in charge of our proposal writing process, so the dreaded RFP, my position was entirely full-time, write the responses to these requests for proposal, lay them out in InDesign, and just drive them out. And it was very much that second mentality where I was just cranking them out as fast as I could to try to hit a home run, a shotgun method, where now my approach is much more, let's learn about the problem before I even write a proposal, before I even make the ask. How can I diagnose what they actually need? But in the day job, we were going in cold and just sort of throwing a proposal out there to see, well, does this hit?
And the ask is the scary thing, and that's what we're trying to defang here. And what we've done, for me, by the time I ask someone, hey, do you want to go forward? I have talked to them so many times that me asking for the sale is literally, if that sounds good to you, reply with a thumbs up, and I'll send over next steps. Like, that's what I'm down to now for how casual my close is on my sale. Is just thumbs up, thumbs down, and that could literally be on a $5,000 or $10,000 project or a $500 project. Because once you have the relationship built, it's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you get to that place where you get people to buy? I know my process is sales through education. You just educate the person about what you do, how you do it, why you do it, etc. Where I've given them all the information they need to make a decision. Then all I have to do is ask at that point. How do you go about it?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same approach where what I want when I start a sales conversation is for someone's trust-o-meter to be way high, like way above zero. So I do things to try to make that happen. And education-based content marketing, just like you're talking about, Kurt, is one of those things. There a little bit of like trying to get out there in front of audiences where I think I will find the kind of people who need my services. So not just relying on luck, not just relying on random stuff, but like a little bit of where are these people and how can I get some kind of educational content in front of them.
Well, what's the thing we should teach? When we say educational content, what are we teaching them?
One of the things I found kind of bubbles up good ideas is asking what keeps your clients awake at night. What causes them to lose sleep? What do they complain about to their spouse or their partner about their business, if it's a privately owned business, or if they're responsible for a profit and loss sheet? What do they wish they could change? And if you can position yourself as a solution to that problem, whatever they're complaining about, that's going to get you a nice short list of ideas.
If you can, and along with that uncovers another fear I've seen people have, which is, well, if I educate them, they're not going to hire me because I've told them everything and how to do it, and they'll just run and do it themselves.
What I've often seen is the opposite, where when you educate somebody about how the sausage is made, how we do this diagnosis, how we implement this practice, they say, oh, I didn't realize there were so many steps. I didn't realize it was so involved. I didn't realize it would take so many tries to understand how to do it correctly. They start wanting to throw the money at you. Like I need to get the side panel of my car replaced. And in the corner of my mind, I'm like, well, I'm sure I could do this myself. But then I start thinking through like all the steps required to take off the panel, put on a new panel, make sure it's there, do the paint. And I'm like, oh my God, it's only going to cost me like $1,000 to get this done. I feel like I'm the one winning here by paying for this. But once I know all the steps involved, it sort of scares me into wanting to pay a professional to do it. I think educational marketing, really laying out exactly what the steps are that you take in a service, does the exact same thing with one of your prospects, where they say, oh, you're going to do an SEO audit. I'm sure it's just like 6 steps. Oh, there's a 100-step checklist you use? Please do it for me. I don't want to have to bother learning how to do this or going through all the time myself.
Yeah, what I hear you saying, Kai, in my language is you're actually demonstrating the value of what you're asking people to pay you to do. And if they don't see the value after understanding how to do it, and by the way, I think only maybe 40% or less than half of your marketing should be actually showing how to do it. The other half should be talking about the business impact of doing it. And so anyway, if you're showing how to do it, you're demonstrating that it has value, and that's a big part of using marketing as a precursor to the sales process, is to establish that what you're selling actually does have value. And so rather than expecting your client to just buy it and kind of trust in some magic, you're actually helping them understand, here's how, this thing that I'm going to do for you translates into a business result that you can sell either to your boss or you can count on as you're writing out that big check.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. The the pushback I get, yeah, from people, from freelancers when I suggest it is, well, they'll run and they'll do it themselves, and it turns, the opposite, of course, is true. Is they don't know they didn't know to begin with how to do it. They didn't know, and then once you've educated them, they didn't realize how involved it was. And then in the whole process, all you've done along the way isn't teach them how to do the thing you do. It's establish you as the expert or authority in that space.
Exactly. And I think a part of that worry comes from a freelancer or a consultant thinking that they're just their skill set, they're just the tactics that they're using, I'm a hammer, the client can use me to accomplish this task of banging a nail into a piece of wood. Well, no, you are much more than that. That just happens to be the methodology you're following. If you explain to the client what that methodology is, you don't lose your value. You've just reduced the apparent risk, taught them what to expect when they decide to work with you, and shown that you understand your area of expertise. It doesn't deflate your standing. I think it in turn increases your relevancy as an expert.
And then along in that process, I think it's important. You're also, you're letting them learn about you as a person. So I think it's important to, in doing that, let your personality shine through to make sure that you're a good fit. Because once you've got a good process in place, you'll actually have enough leads where even if you have, you get 3 leads, all 3 are for the same project, same price, and qualified, you'll be able to pick the one that's the best relationship fit for you.
Yes.
So I've included more and more personality in mine to do that. And the more open I get with people, the more honest I am. I'm perceived as being more honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you sign up for my newsletter at kurtelster.com, like, depending on where you sign up, you're different places. You may get different drip email sequences. And I haven't worked out one for kurtelster.com yet, but you do get 2 emails. A welcome email that asks what keeps you up at night, essentially, and a second entitled Rapper Beef that just talks about the recent online beef I had with a rapper for stealing the source code from one of my websites. And that literally the subject is rapper beef. So if you can find some entertainment in that, like I did, then we're probably a good fit. But if you think that's really stupid, you're going to unsubscribe, and now I don't ever have to worry about working with you.
And I think we see that a lot of places online with different type of marketers or consultants. Like, the not forceful, but the more prominent you're able to make your personality, the more it could be a differentiator and the more it helps you stand out. Like, we have a mutual friend, Moishka Marsh of Spicy Social Media, who has a very, very prominent brand, who has a very prominent voice in her marketing. And it's that personality, that personal brand helps her stand out against other consultants. It's no longer just, I'm a practitioner, but this is my brand, this is who I am, this is what it's like to really work with me. If that resonates with you, oh, wonderful. Like, you have that higher relationship already, just like when you welcome somebody with like an email that's like, hey, rapper beef, the type of client who says, this doesn't feel right. Well, even if you hadn't sent that email and had ended up working with them, it could have gone south. By hitting them early with a sense of, this is who I am, this is my personality, this is what you could expect of me, it's easier for the right people to say, yes, I want to work together.
So in the nightmare scenario, our sales process is like 15 minutes in which I run into a store, unroll my jewelry case, try to get people to buy some stuff, grab the check, and run out. All right, the whole thing's like 15 minutes when we're done. Now we're talking about email sequences and educational content. So how long is an actual sale take?
In my experience with email marketing, I've seen it happen within 30 days where somebody joins my list and 20, 30 days later they're a client. And that's about the fastest it's happened for me. And the slowest has been about a year of someone knowing about me and periodically being in touch. And then a year later we're working together. And then I've also had people who are on my list refer me to people who are not on my list who become clients.
Yeah, because you've spent, potentially like days, weeks, or months essentially brainwashing them about what you do, how you do it, who you are, and why.
Yep.
So in time, like they intuitively know what a good fit client is for you, even if they're not necessarily. So they
Yep.
know when to recommend you, and that's what's great about it. I
Right.
actually,
And not everybody needs what I do like
yeah,
every year. So there's a timing element that's completely out of our control.
and that's what's nice about the drip emails. You don't know where someone is in their buying process, and I don't need to worry myself about it. And what's funny is, in the past I wanted to just be like sale, sale, sale. Now, if someone signs up for my list and immediately contacts me about, about buying, I'm actually a little apprehensive. I want them to have been on the email list for a little while so they have a better sense of who I am. Because I know it's gonna like if someone has been on that list 3 weeks and then starts talking to me, that's an easy sale. And I will often hear the same thing where, like, partway through the call, they go, you know what? I feel like I already know you. Well, yeah, you do already know me, actually.
Yeah, back to an earlier point, I've talked to people who are really stressed out about like this idea of their online voice. Like they need to construct a persona that is, kind of like the dating profile, I guess, that some people put together. It's not really meant to represent themselves. It's meant to like try to snag people. And in my experience, it's not necessary to construct a profile if you really know your clients and you really know what keeps them up at night and
And you're
why they are
confident.
willing to fork over money. Then the voice stuff just takes care of itself. You just start throwing in funny stories from your life, and you
Yeah,
know,
you personalize it. Well, and I think that's why
yeah,
people have anxiety about it, is because they're trying to be something they're not. Like if you're confident in what you were doing and who you were doing it for, like then okay, now it's easy. It's much easier to write. And then if you're just, if you allow yourself to open up and include those personal stories, well, now it's easy. Like the hardest part is just coming up with an idea for what should I write about. Well, once I have that, banging out a 500-word email is easy.
And what I found, oh, please, you.
Oh, I was going to say on that note, I for a number of years as a freelancer really tried to distance myself from my client's business, and that was a mistake that hurt me over and over in the sales process. I always felt like, well, I mean, it was weird. I really embraced that idea that, I'm just hired help here. I don't want to screw anything up by getting too involved. And where that came from, who knows? Could have been, lack of self-confidence or whatever. But when I changed that approach, sales got way easier, just so much easier. Sorry, Kai, you were about to say something.
I was just going to say on that topic of not knowing what to write about or not knowing what to share, that there's a nice feedback loop you get where as prospects raise objections during sales calls, that's the most fertile area to mine for what you should be writing about or what content you should be creating if you're trying to sell web design services and clients or prospects keep saying like, I'm not sure about the return for me, or I'm not sure why I need to do this versus just doing X or something else with my website. Those types of objections become super powerful educational marketing to use either as an article on your website or as part of an email sequence, because if they're the questions you're already getting from prospects, by countering them ahead of time in email, in written form, you make it easier for you to sell because you've already defeated that objection. By the time they talk to you, they've already run into, I don't know about the ROI for my business. Oh, this is how to figure out the ROI. This is a good ROI. Okay, there's nothing to worry about there, and sort of overcoming them before they even think about it.
I like it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But it also, so one of the common threads I heard Philip bring it up repeatedly. Kai just brought it up, is to be able to sell well, to be able to write authentically. Really, the cornerstone of all of this is understanding what keeps the customer up at night. How do I figure that out? How do I know what my customer's pain is? Like, let's say I'm a generalist web developer. Now what?
You should ask them.
Go ask them. Well, it's not that simple. That scares me. What do I do? Someone break down for me. Like, give me 3 steps on. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, and I need to work out what the customer's pain is.
So let's make this a little bit interesting, shall we? Let's imagine that you got hired to build a brochure website.
Okay.
or and the project budget's $5,000,
Okay.
and you're going to put together a brochure or website. What I would recommend as step one, and say you're in the middle of it, right? And you're hearing this, you're just in the middle of it. So we want to give some advice to somebody who's in that situation. I think during the next meeting, you plan to ask your client, what do you hope happens when we launch this website? I feel like a dummy for not asking already. What's we're getting kind of towards the end of this project here. What are things going to be like when you launch the website? And a question like that, super simple. It's not like a loaded question, I don't think. And I think you will start hearing some things you've never heard before if you've never asked a question like that.
I love those kinds of questions. My favorite that uncovers all kinds of crazy stuff is, hey, why did you want to start this now versus, say, 6 months ago or 6 months from now? And generally it'll uncover like some event, something that just happened that suddenly made the project important, where previously it wasn't.
No, I completely agree with both of those points. I think that if you don't have direct access to the client, or if you have a vision of the clients you want to work with, but you aren't working with any of them currently to interview, you could go back and interview a past client. You could also look at sort of an array of all the projects you tackled over the last 6 or 12 months, and then cherry pick the ones that you enjoyed working on the most, and then say, well, I've enjoyed these types of projects. Let me focus in on those through my sales process, similar to sort of how you approach positioning for your own business, Kurt.
Okay. So the in our sales process, where does it start then? It doesn't start with us like so we've got our proposal. Prior to then there was a phone call. Prior to then there was an email sequence. How did they get to the email sequence?
In my case, I have really just latched on to podcast guesting as a way to do that. So
yeah, no, it works phenomenally.
And there's a ton of great stuff that podcasting has going for it. The reach, to get to people when they're doing other things other than sitting in front of a computer or a phone. The personal nature of it, the fact that someone can hear the confidence or the lack thereof in your voice as you're discussing some issue, and the fact that there's a whole broad swath of podcasts that's really dedicated to teaching businessy stuff to people, make it an amazing medium. So I mean, that's not the only thing, but that's responsible for the lion's share of my new subscribers on my list. And what I think is critical is at the end of the podcast, they're always going to ask you as a guest, where can people find out more about you? So I think it's critical to have a next step that is like perfectly aligned with whatever it is you talked about on the podcast. So for me, that's an email course to learn more about positioning. So I send people there, and that's, I think of that as the mouth of my sales and marketing funnel. There are other really good ways to do it, though, so that's not an exclusive, only do that kind of recommendation, but that's what I do.
I also, I went from guesting on podcasts, and it was so effective that I went to hosting my own podcast, and that's like the same thing. Crank to 11 works phenomenally well, but there's other ways, and even in similar ways, because not everyone's going to be comfortable with talking and being interviewed. Kai, what are your thoughts?
I think that, just like you just hit on, there's a range of different strategies that a consultant can use to really get traffic in the mouth of their marketing funnel or sales funnel. Podcasting, writing guest articles, a lot of these educational types of material where you're creating something. Beyond that, we haven't even touched on strategies that are more paid advertising, either running local ads, investing in pay-per-click advertising like Facebook ads or Google ads, doing joint ventures or partnerships, or doing white label or subcontracting. If your goal is to get potential prospects in front of your business, there's a whole array of tactics and strategies that you could latch onto, test, and use. I know right now the three of us follow a similar methodology, but if we look a year or 2 years ago, we were using very, very different methods to attract these prospects to our businesses. And it's not that we switched because what we were doing was broken or incorrect. It's just that we've centered on a similar strategy right now. It might diverge again in the future. There's such an array that any consultant could use in a similar situation.
What I see being important with the folks that I work with is that it be repeatable and emotionally sustainable. So if it just kills you to have to get in front of people, then don't make that the main backbone of your business development.
Yeah,
Find
why
some other
don't
way.
don't make your life hard. It's you own
Yeah.
your own business. You're the boss. Don't make your life hard.
Yeah, and every method that Kai mentioned, there are just thousands of people, probably, if not hundreds, having tremendous success with, Facebook ads, Google pay-per-click ads. It's not about one method being superior. It's about investing the time and, the experimentation it takes to get it sort of humming on all cylinders for your business.
Yeah, the people who say, "Oh, Facebook ads don't work, Google ads don't work." No, no, no. What they mean to say is the one time they tried them wrong, it didn't work, and they shouldn't be surprised. A great way to learn and practice at a much lower cost and lower risk is to use remarketing ads with Google and Facebook. And it's much cheaper. You're only going to show ads to people who visited your website but didn't necessarily take an action. And I found that was what convinced me that, okay, pay-per-click advertising can work. And then once I had worked out remarketing, then I moved to working out just standard bring new visitors to a page type of stuff, the traditional stuff that's actually much harder. And it took time and experience, but for sure I'd recommend try starting with remarketing if you're new to pay-per-click.
One of the things that I think is implicit in what you're saying there, Kurt, is the sale is not actually the sale. The sale is about maybe 6 little small yeses that move someone closer to writing a substantial size check, right? So the first yes is maybe joining your list, and that's actually a sale. I mean, that is, you've got to sell somebody on the value of giving up their email address,
No,
and
it's
that's
tough. Like if you can get a 1% conversion rate to your list, like that's actually pretty good. That's the shocking part. If you get 5%, that's amazing. It's actually much harder to build an email list than anyone realizes who hasn't tried it. But I think for any freelancer, any consultant, ultimately you're in the business of building an email list.
Right. So again, one of the mistakes that I'm sure I made was I focused everything on like the biggest yes that I thought I could get out of a client.
So did I, for years.
Right. So it was like, what's the most I can sell this client with the highest price tag, at which point I think I can get a yes. And that was what I thought of sales as. And now I think of it as, well, you're going to say yes to listening to me on a podcast, and then you might say yes to joining my list, and then you might say yes to a $50 ebook. Not that you have to have products in the mix, but if that's the next yes, that's a lot easier than going from being on my list to paying $20,000 for some services. So that, I think, is a critical part of it's sort of a mindset thing, but it translates into how you structure that whole journey from never heard of you to just cut you a big check.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tough because even the client may have that mentality that that's how it should work. So, oftentimes the way it works is, you present people with a compelling sales page, but they're not, as well as they know that they're not going to buy, but you kind of have to play this game. And then as an afterthought, they say, okay, well, I'll sign up for their email list. But there's also a bit of value anchoring there where you're saying, like, yeah, sure, you can give me $5,000 right now. Or for free, you could sign up for that email list. And now, that's an easier yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which
I'm wondering
brings me to our next question.
Yeah.
What goes into a winning sales page?
A buy. It's got to have a buy button.
Just set it up on Gumroad, we're done.
You got to ask for the order, as Joe Sugarman would say. You have to ask for the order.
Yeah. I think one great resource for anybody that's interested in getting better at writing a sales page would be the book The Brain Audit by Sean DeSouza. It's $10 or so on Amazon. It just walks through the different stages that you need to consider when it comes to why customers buy and why customers don't buy. And just by thinking about, well, what are these different elements? Well, first off, you have to think about the problem, since nobody buys without there being a motivating reason, a problem that they're trying to solve. Then there's the solution, what you have for sale. There's the audience you're trying to reach. There's what makes what you're selling unique. There's what sort of guarantee or what sort of return you could offer. each one of these elements counters a potential objection in the buyer's mind. If you don't talk about the problem, somebody's going to show up to potentially work with you and say, well, sure, they're selling websites. Do I need a website? I don't know yet. When you focus on, well, this is the problem, you aren't getting enough traffic, or you aren't getting enough sales, or nobody knows about your business, then the solution you could offer suddenly makes that much more sense. So each one or each part of a sales page naturally leads that person forward. Again, that concept of the micro yeses, well, you're getting somebody to agree, yes, there is a problem. Okay. Yes, this is a solution I want. Okay. Yes, this sounds like who I am. And you lead them forward piece by piece to that point where, like Philip pointed out, you ask for that final sale. If everything has been a yes so far, are you ready to cut me that check?
Yeah, I think the way a lot of inexperienced folks go about it is they put up a website to sell aspirin, and in reality, what you want is to talk to people about getting rid of their headache.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the simple format, the quick and dirty format I use, and I think you essentially described, and you introduced me to is pain, dream, fix. So
Yep.
you hold up the mirror, identify the pain that they're experiencing, and if they don't have that pain, guess what? They were never going to buy, and they weren't your customer. So see ya. You paint the picture of the dream, the outcome they want, the end result, and then is when you can introduce them to your fix, your solution.
Yeah.
And then ask them to buy, and then that's when you jump in. After that, you jump into objection busting and risk reversal stuff. So guarantees. Like refunds, warranties, that kind of thing, and then of course trust indicators like testimonials and as seen on and those things.
There's a TED Talk from a few years ago where it talks about the why, the how, and the what of making a sale. I can't remember the name of the TED Talk, but if you Google why, how, what TED Talk, you'd be able to find it. In it, the presenter talks about the difference between Apple computers and Dell computers, where Dell was very focused on the what. We have a computer for sale. You could buy it if you'd like. Apple instead talks about the why, purpose behind what they're doing, the how, the process they go through to achieve that, and the what, the specific thing that they're selling. I found a similar mental shift in selling consulting services has really, really been valuable because it's let me better present what I have for sale than, hey, I could do SEO for you. Instead, it's talking about the why of why somebody would want SEO, the how of my process, and the what, the end result that we're getting out of it. And it's so much more impactful than just saying, hey, here's a can of SEO, you could buy it if you'd like.
Well, and that also makes you look so much more less like a pair of hands, less like a freelancer, and more like, oh, this guy's selling strategy and high touch, high dollar services, without you ever actually having to say any of that.
One of the other mental shifts for me that I think played a big role in taking the fangs out of selling was realizing that parting ways without a contract in place could be a good outcome. It could be a good outcome for me, and it could be a really good outcome for the client, for me to realize, you know what, we thought this was a good idea, we thought we should do business, but after some discussion, it looks like you'll get more benefit from doing something different. So, and I'm not going to do that other thing for you because somebody else could do it better, and it's not where my focus is. Being able to see that could be a good outcome and save everybody a ton of grief and basically wasted money was really huge for me. So I mean, that kind of gets into negotiation, like that willingness to walk away when the terms aren't right.
Getting up from the table is the most powerful negotiation tactic you have.
Yeah,
and they know it. You don't have to do it. If you're willing to do it, it's like people know it, and it really makes a difference.
I think a lot of it comes down to having a full pipeline or having a couple clients on retainer or having a little cash in the bank, because that makes it that much easier to be willing to walk away. In negotiation theory, there's this idea of a BATNA, a best alternative to a negotiated agreement, what you could work out if the deal on the table doesn't come together. So if you're a freelancer who says, well, I've got 0 clients, I've got no recurring revenue, your alternative to not accepting whatever the proposal is or whatever the client has come back to you with is nothing. But if instead you have a robust pipeline, if instead you have a number of leads, the alternative to this one lead not working out is, okay, I go talk with one of the other people who want to work with me and we put something together there. So it's like an unfortunate truth that the people who are in the best position to turn down the work that's a bad fit are the people who don't need the bad work to begin with.
Yeah,
but
it's a catch-22.
I think you get out of that problem by slowly firing the bad clients and accepting slightly better clients. If we think of the sales process as a consultant slowly improving the type of the caliber of client they work with, it's not overnight fire every client you have and you'll magically discover great clients. It's start winnowing out the bottom 10%. When their contract comes up, throw them away. Work to get a slightly better client at each level over a year, over 2 years, over 3 years. Then you're going to be working with the dream clients you want to be working with. But it's incremental. It's piece by piece.
Yeah, it really is. And sometimes
it's not an overnight thing.
Sometimes you just have to take clients you don't want to take. Mm-hmm. And other times you can say like, well, I think I'm going to eat out a little less this month and fire this client and invest that energy and time into something better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just, number one, you just have to acknowledge that you have agency. You're in control of both your life and your business, and you're going to choose about who you want to work with. And just because someone is waving money in your face, if you think they're an asshole, you don't have to work with them. And realizing that took me a long time, where it's like some people aren't worth their money. And that's just a good rule for life in general. Okay, so it's that we've moved very far along in the sales process as far as the discussion goes. So at this point, throw at me some. How do I create a winning proposal? I don't even write proposals anymore. I do everything just in an email. Like I talk on the phone, and then I bullet out the conversation in an email, and I'm like, "Do you want to do that?" And if they say yes, I give them a statement of work that's also happens to be a deposit invoice. So I don't know the last time I wrote a proposal. Tell me what goes into a winning proposal if you're even still doing proposals.
I'd argue that you are, in fact, still writing proposals. You've just stripped away a lot of the smoke and mirrors, the glitter, the elements that people tack onto a proposal that aren't entirely necessary. So when you send that email, I think because you're still getting to the core issue. Client had a problem. You learned what the problem was by talking with the client. Client and you agree the solution you have available is a solution that will work with them. And you say, great, summary, here's the problem, here's what we discussed, here's a solution, here's the price, here's the buy button. It's the core elements that you include in every proposal. We just feel that, or we as consultants feel we need to dress it up with like, hey, here's a page that talks about who we are, here's somewhere projects, here's more information than what's necessary. But if you hit on those core elements, the problem, the solution, the methodology, the price, and the buy button, people are going to be able to decide to work with you through that scaled down version of a proposal.
I think it takes the pressure off. I think it works better than a proposal because when I've pulled all those trappings away, it's no longer this big scary decision. And if I drop, like, here's your 30-page PDF proposal, read it. It's like, all right, I just assigned you homework and put it in a package in the same way that I would try to sell you a house where it becomes clear that this is a big important decision that you need to sleep on. It's like, no, here's what we talked about, here's what we agreed on. Do you still want to go forward with this? And when it's in that email format and it's simplified, it makes everybody's life easier. There's no reason to make things so complicated.
Yeah, all I can do is agree. I don't send out proposals. I work on a weekly basis primarily with clients who pay me 100% up front before I do, sometimes I'll do some prep work, but, I'm paid in full before the week begins.
What I just heard is that Philip is a grade A badass. Doing that's the dream.
1 week at a time.
No proposals, weekly billing, so he's not working hourly, and it's so. Or you could view it as being, fixed price, fixed scope, 100% up front. Like that's phenomenal. That's what everybody should be working toward.
Yeah, and it was a very slow incremental process with a lot of mistakes, but
it's not overnight.
I'm in the same boat as you, Kurt. I send an email that says, this is what we discussed, and this is what we're going to try to do, and here's the invoice for the first week, and I'll set up a Trello board, and we'll start putting together some tasks, and so. But I wanted to say that I think that a lot of thinking about proposals is coming from it's like trickle down from like big consulting companies who are pitching rather than selling incrementally. So they're being invited in to pitch. They're doing a little bit of, discovery, and then they're dumping a ton of creative work for free into something they call a proposal, but really it's a customized pitch for that client. And Blair Enns rails against this, and I think he's absolutely right that sets up every aspect of the relationship on the wrong premise.
Yeah,
And
it turns into a song and dance.
yeah, so I just have been able to get away from that. I'm profoundly grateful for being able to get away from that. I think Kai described the vital elements that do need to be in a proposal if you're still needing to create proposals, and certainly some projects do need a proposal. It's just I've kind of worked around needing to do that myself, but I do acknowledge that sometimes they're needed.
Yeah, especially things with longer timelines and joint responsibilities and lots of moving pieces. Those should definitely you'd want to get have a formal contract and a proposal. But the alternative is if you viewed it as a glacier, broke it into ice cubes, and did every single piece of that big project that required a proposal as its own one short 1 to 2 week project. Now suddenly all those trappings go away, and let's say the relationship sours, you need to do something else, you don't want to work with that client. You have these very easy stopping points where you just have to wrap up where you're at.
I've started to find that when a prospect gets in touch with me and requests a proposal or makes it evident that they see a proposal as a requirement in moving forward together, it could also be a signal of an anti-pattern in how the relationship will be going on. And I try to steer the conversation away from well, do we really need a proposal? Is that what will provide the most value here? Or should we instead have an initial road mapping workshop where we're really able to dive into what the situation at hand is? So if a prospect is asking for a proposal from me, I'll steer them in another direction if I can, or say, well, is this a project I really want to pursue if that's how they view my time being best spent?
Yeah, if someone asks me for a proposal, they will get a response one of two ways. Either I'll say, I really appreciate that, but we're not a good fit. Here's someone else. Or I'll say, all right, before I do that, let's start with a paid call.
Yeah.
And then that I'm giving, if they don't want to do the paid call, okay, well, that's fine. Then we weren't a good fit. See ya. And if they do want to do the paid call, now, often if they were requesting a proposal, they're a more formal person. They are the kind of people who are very likely to want to do a paid call. And they could, that sort of person can become a very good client. But the RFP itself, for me, also is a red flag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another thing that I think is important if you are doing proposals is you should make sure your proposal has exactly 0 surprises for your client. If it has more than 0 surprises, then you have not done enough conversation prior to writing the proposal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've made that mistake numerous times myself, and it's not like the client, throws it in your face along with a cup of coffee. It's just that it's a diagnostic that you haven't talked enough prior to submitting the proposal.
Yeah. We've got 5 minutes left. Any closing thoughts on sales?
The most valuable thing for me was when I switched from doing free conversations with every client to either pushing people to clarity.fm for a paid call or saying the next step we need to take is a paid road mapping session. And I'm a big proponent of paid road mapping sessions where it's basically taking the discovery process and making it a productized service at a flat rate. I started off charging $200 for them, even though it took me 2 to 3 hours of my time, just because I wanted that as a little speed bump for the client. Before we move any further forward in this relationship, you need to make the decision, are you willing to invest $200, $300, $500, or $1,000 in this? If the client isn't, great, I'm not going to put in any more work. And
that's the same reason I use the clarity call. You're separating the wheat from the chaff.
Yes, absolutely. So I highly recommend any consultant who's starting to say, there has to be a better way. This doesn't seem like a sustainable system. Add a road mapping session or add a small paid call. $60 for an hour, $100 for an hour, just so the prospect is faced with that buying decision. Since in the grand scheme of things, a $100 call versus a $5,000 project, if they were going to say no to the $100 call, they're going to say no to the $5,000 project. Hit them with a $100 call first, so you just get it all out of the way.
100% agreed.
Yeah, me too. You know, as like the introvert in the room, I just was terrified of sales, and for me it kind of all boiled down to that mindset being out of whack. And so just know that there's another way to approach it. And this is, you know, I'm not a sales trainer. I'm not trying to pump you up to believe in yourself that you can do this. I'm just saying that there actually is a different way that is much less. I mean, I actually look forward to getting on the phone with prospects to talk to them, because through a lot of trial and error and a lot of listening to other smart people, I've found that there are ways to make sales easy and sometimes even fun, because you learn about your client's deeper needs, which, you know, sets up the relationship that you may have with them on a much stronger foundation. So you know, I guess my kind of meta tips are, this one comes from our shared friend Jonathan Stark, who would have had a lot of good stuff to say if he'd been here. Just pretend to be the dumbest guy in the room during every conversation you have with a client. Like, always ask
definitely
why.
Talk less than them.
Yeah, always ask why. Why are you doing that? Why do you think that's, you know, the right way to go? Even if you think you know the answer, still do that, and you will, I think, come out, you know, way ahead. So yeah, those are some closing thoughts from me.
I dig it. Mr. Davis, anything?
I think practicing it over time is something you'll come to grips with, that you don't become a sales juggernaut overnight. It's slowly getting better by testing different tactics with prospects as you encounter them, and you'll look at it over the span of a year or 2 years and say, wow, I've really increased my ability to sell. It's not, oh, I got this book, or I got the one tactic or the one secret trick. It's consistent practice, having these conversations, educating prospects, defeating their objections over a macro period, not a micro period. Think 2, 5, 10 years, not 2, 5, 10 weeks.
Yeah, no, it took me 5 years to get to a place where I'm just stone cold comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
No, my single tip is realign your thinking. Think about it as your sales process is just education, is you helping people, and then when you talk to someone on the phone, by the time you talk to them, it should be just to see if you're a good fit, and then you put the decision in their hands. Do you want to buy? Yes or no? No? Okay, see ya. I mean, it's not. You take the pressure off that it's not a big deal. Okay, that wraps it up. To our panelists, thank you for your insight into sales, and to our listeners, however this video made it into your hands, you could find out more about it at independentconsultingmanual.com. Thanks, everybody.
And